Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? I'm Darrell, co-founder of Yokel Local, and I have the privilege of having
Amanda Edens, Head of Content and Marketing Automation Specialist.
Hey, so we are going to talk with you for a little bit today about email re-engagement sequences or campaigns, right?
Yeah.
So before we dive in, let's talk a little bit about first of all, what are some of the mistakes we see out there that every time we get a client, we always find a very common error, right?
That they're not emailing their list.
They're not emailing their list, right? They're not emailing the people, especially, and not just their list, because you can have an email list built of leads, you could have an email list of customers, and then you could have different segments of customers. But the funny thing is they're not emailing their past customers, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we want to talk a little bit about a case study of a client that we acquired a little while ago, and Amanda took care of what we call the re-engagement content sequence. And so we're going to talk through a little bit about that, but let's talk first of all about why it's important to not lose touch with your past customer database. Why is that such a big deal?
A few different reasons. The first one being that there have been a ton of studies out there on this, and the statistics differ, but in general, it is easier to make sales from people who have already bought from you than to acquire brand new customers. And some of the statistics out there, I think it's like 7 times more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, there's one study, I think it goes from 5 times all the way up to 25 times, and I think they came from Harvard. Maybe we'll link up that Harvard study below. So it's a really big deal when we're talking about marketing, and it doesn't matter if it's online or offline. When you've worked so hard and spent money, and money is both time and money, both in cash money, to acquire a customer, the worst thing you could do is ignore that customer. But let's talk about another issue that I think could be stopping people, and that is the product or service they may be selling isn't something that normally the person would buy over and over again. For example, we used to work in the LASIK space. You don't get LASIK.
Just once.
Right, you don't get LASIK more than once. You know, if you get divorced and you're a divorce attorney, hopefully you're not getting divorced too many times, although we are in the United States. You know, there are plenty of services or products out there that you just wouldn't buy over and over again. So why should we really keep talking to those folks after they've already bought?
Referrals,
right.
Word of mouth, you know, in general, customer delights.
Right, customer delight. I mean, you just nailed it, right? And one thing we talk about in digital is if we have a buyer who has purchased a product or service, they exhibit a certain type of demographic or psychographic about their behavior. And today we live in the world of AI, and that's going to continue to grow. Platforms like Facebook, Google, YouTube. What makes your advertising dollars stretch further is if we can model the behavior of your existing customers. And so what Amanda said is really a good point is, how do you scale your return on investment when you're marketing and advertising? That is, everybody that you brought through the door who already volunteered or voted with their check or their wallet, they have a database. They know people, right? So, and you talked about customer delighting. Really quick, let's touch on that, and then let's dive into the case study.
Making them happy so that they tell their friends about you.
Right, just staying in front of them, right? You know, years and years ago, I was in the mortgage industry. You don't get too many home loans, right? I mean, in a career, I was in that business for 11 years. And I kept in touch with my database every single month for 10, 11 years. And the reason for it is because I wanted to be influential into their circle and obviously acquire new business. But we're talking about digital today, and so let's talk about this case study. So we do this every time we bring a new client in, especially a company that's been around for a while. We're not going to name the company or talk about their industry, anything like that. Keep all that private. But let's talk about, number one, how many customers did they have when they came through and started working with us?
Geez, at the very least, 36,000.
36,000. So they weren't new. They've been around for a while, right? Probably 25 years or something like that.
Yes, 30 maybe.
And let's talk about the other thing. What is the average, if we were to put an average price of what the customer value was for just one purchase in their environment?
Yes. So each ticket item was probably around $2,000,
right,
give or take.
And in their program, they have, you know, and the buyer's journey could, in their world, go 4 or 5 times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the true lifetime value could be $10,000, $12,000 per customer, 30,000 customers. So we obviously just don't start trying to email 30,000 people right out of the gate.
No, no.
All right, so what do we do first?
Well, so this business had not contacted very rarely their customer database at all, except to ask for something. either purchase a class or volunteer with them, because there were volunteer opportunities. So their entire email communication with this database of 36,000 people was gimme, gimme, gimme.
Right. Buy some more. Can you buy a little bit more? Hey, buy something else.
So as this company's brand new marketing agency, we wanted to change the narrative to provide more value with those emails,
Right.
and to essentially reinforce some of the concepts that these customers know by working with this company.
Yeah. So let's give them the results, right? So first email goes out. We'll talk a little bit more about the structure of the email. First email goes out. What happens?
First email goes out, and there were 7,000 bounces.
7,000.
And a bounce is when essentially the email goes undelivered, undeliverable for whatever reason that may be.
Right.
And the reason why there were so many is because the database was not clean.
Right.
It was just disorganized, old emails, maybe people who had moved on.
Yeah. So we cleaned up the 7,000.
Yes.
But then, even then, we don't go start emailing 28,000 people, right? So we take a small segment of the list, and let's talk about the actual. Let's give them the result. Like
the result, yeah.
Let's give them the result. When we finally narrowed it down, pruned up the list a little bit, and sent our first test email, even though we weren't trying to make a sale, what happened?
Okay, so that first email was, again, it's about delivering value. Even though we did not make a call to action in the email, we did not ask anyone to buy from this company, there was, I believe, I think it was either 2 or 4 sales made as a result of that email.
Interesting. So if we just take the easy math, we did a very simple thing, sent one email. We really didn't ask them to buy anything, but they could have gotten anywhere from $4,000 or $5,000, maybe up to $8,000 in revenue just in month one. And that's really what's important about this is, first of all, the bad thing is the 7,000 emails bounced. And again, things are going to happen. People are going to leave companies and that kind of thing. But we weren't staying in touch with those people. So the best thing you can do is to re-engage with your database. But let's talk about the very first email, because obviously a re-engagement campaign could be 6, 8, 10, 20 emails, depending on how long the company hasn't kept in touch. But we have a very favorite type of first email, right? And it's kind of a ninja email. Works like a charm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just share with them what that is.
With this company, knowing that they had not been providing value with their emails before, the first email that went out was simply, "We blew it. We're so sorry for not emailing you and for only emailing you when we want something." And essentially it was just coming clean and being honest.
Right. So it's funny. So the subject line of this email was "We blew it." Another way to write it is "I apologize" or "We apologize." We messed up. And what we're doing is we're taking this, and it doesn't matter, by the way, if you have 100 customers or if you have 30,000 customers, right? If you haven't emailed your email list in a long time, it's shame on you if you send an email out that says "buy my stuff." It's bad. Like we had another company, like if we went back 3 years ago, another massive company, 15,000 emails, and every time they sent out an email, it was essentially a coupon to buy the next thing, right?
Yeah.
But yet they hadn't sent them anything a long
Yeah.
time. So the strategy behind this is, number one, you've already got an asset of, in this case, 25,000, 28,000 people. But again, don't be worried. If you've got an asset of 50 customers or 100 customers or 1,000 customers, this process matters to you. Number one, we sent out an email that basically was just trying to re-engage, trying to find out who is still interested in hearing from us. Because the worst thing can happen is we start sending out emails and everybody just unsubscribes, which is fine because we are going to have some people that do that. But we want to get the list healthy, right? Because we want to get emails open,
Right.
especially when we're looking to take that database and use it for other opportunities in marketing. So we just talked a little bit about re-engagement campaigns. Anything else you want to share about that? I mean,
Yeah. So you talked about keeping the database healthy, keeping the contact list healthy. What does an unhealthy database look like? It looks like those bounces that I mentioned, all these bad emails that are still in there, people who don't open your emails ever, who are skewing the data.
send them to spam.
Yeah. Because we want to know when we send out email, we want to know how well that email is performing. And one of the metrics that we look at is open rate. And if you have, a lot of people who've never opened your emails ever, you're actually skewing your true open rate from the ones who are engaged with you.
Another thing that's really important is if you don't open, if your email list isn't opening your emails, then the email service providers like Gmail and Outlook, they'll just move them on over to the spam box. So if your customers or leads are not engaging with your emails, Google, Yahoo, and all the mail providers, they'll just move those emails into spam because they see so many times that your list didn't open the email. So that's a big deal. Like open rates are a big deal. And there's a lot of noise out there today about no one opening email again. As far as I'm concerned, it's the one asset that you still control outside of your website. And until and unless like we stop entering an email address when we sign up for things, email is still going to be a big deal. So, but today's topic, and we'll wrap this up, was about re-engaging with past customers, re-engaging with past leads. I think what we'll do is maybe later this week, I'll jump back on, we'll do another live talking about how to re-engage with leads who may have gone cold in your database, because a lead is someone who hasn't done business with you, and maybe they've gotten a proposal from you, or maybe they visited your website, maybe they entered a product in your e-commerce shopping cart and then didn't purchase, because we've had that scenario, right?
Yes.
We write engagement campaigns for the e-commerce segment as well. B2B, professional service, e-commerce. How do you go back and re-engage them? We got a different type of email that we do there. So anything else you want to share on re-engagement to past customers?
Not really. Just underscoring something that you said that I think you glossed over just a little bit is that an email database is an asset, and it's an asset that's cost you nothing your marketing efforts, sure, but that database sitting there that you have is not really costing you anything to have and use. You email them, that's how much does it cost to send an email, right? Just the cost of your provider. And the average ROI is 38 times in email marketing versus other channels.
Right.
So
38 to 1.
38 to 1.
38 to 1.
Every dollar that you put in gives you $38 back on average if you're doing email marketing.
Properly.
Properly.
Anyway, guys, we're going to wrap this edition up of Yokel Local Tips. Thank you, Amanda, for jumping out of the workflow today to join me on this episode. We'll be back again. I think what we'll do is come back in a few days and talk about re-engagement campaigns with leads to move those from your lead pipeline into your sales pipeline, help your sales team out, because we got some nifty automation things that we do there as well. So that's it for me. Darrell Evans, co-founder of Yokel Local, along with
Amanda Edens.
We'll see you next time. Take care.